So I think for music fans, one of the joys of the holidays and this time of year is the looking back at the previous year for music, and for a lot of us, it's looking at what people are citing as their favorite records of the year, top 10 lists from different publications, different people. And I find that I often get turned on to things that I've ignored or I'll give a second chance to. And sometimes I'll really get turned on to a band or an artist that way. And I was thinking back about when that's happened, and one time in particular, 2014, I got so turned on to a band just by being in my car. I was in Las Vegas, of all places. Don't like Las Vegas. I lived in Las Vegas. That's a whole another story. But I was interviewing for the job that I later took, and was driving around Las Vegas and trying to convince myself that, maybe Vegas won't be so bad, maybe Vegas will be okay, and I might really like Vegas. And, maybe this song has something to do with it, because it certainly brightened my spirits. But I'm listening to Sound Opinions. This is with Greg Kot and Jim Rodriguez from the Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Tribune, and they're recapping their favorite albums of 2014. And one of them that they mentioned, I don't even think I heard him mention it. I think I just heard the song, and I was waiting for them to come in. But it was Wussy, the band Wussy. Kind of a silly name for a band, but Wussy. And the song was Teenage Wasteland. And if that sounds familiar to people, Teenage Wasteland, of course, The Who have a song that a lot of young people, myself included, when I was in high school and first getting turned on to The Who, thought was the name of an actual song, and got really frustrated when you flip through the record bins and not see it on the track listing of records that you thought pretty sure it was on this record. Later on you find out it's called Baba O'Reilly. But this song by Wussy, sung by Lisa Walker, it's her and it's Chuck Cleaver, both run the band. They're the main driving force, co-vocalists, co-songwriters. It's her song. She's talking about the power of rock and roll, and she mentions Pete Townsend by name. Pete, I heard you, Pete. This power, this feeling not alone when you're a kid, feeling like there's something else out there, this force, rock and roll, that you get, and like-minded people are out there, you're not alone. And she just puts all this into the song, and it's like really emotional and driving, and it rocks. And I just wanted to do a driveway moment, or I probably did, although I wasn't pulling into a driveway. I was driving around Las Vegas. But I definitely was all ears when they started talking about this band called Wussy, how this is probably their best album. The album is called Attica. And how it's their fifth album, how Robert Christgau, who, world famous rock critic, the dean of rock and roll, he calls Wussy his favorite current American band, which is pretty high praise, I think. They're from Columbus, Ohio. I have yet to see any of their records in a record store. Seriously. Browsing around, it's like, I don't think they sell enough to even be stocked in some of the coolest record stores, which is kind of a shame. But so I've had to mail order these from Shake It Records, which is out of Columbus, is a record label, and is also a record store. And really nice people. Every time I order, they put in a little card or a postcard and personalize things. But this album, that song alone, if you're looking for something to check them out with, Google that song, Teenage Wasteland by Wussy, or better yet, find the KEXP performance of it, or if you can find it, and I have not been able to find it recently, look for the performance that was on CBS Sunday Morning. They were interviewed and they did a performance of that just gave me shivers. It was so good. But the whole album is great. It's a great introduction to them. They're just an American rock and roll band, the kind that you think is extinct and doesn't really exist anymore. The other thing that's interesting is Chuck Cleaver, who's the co-leader of this band. He was in another band that a lot of us that are into indie rock in the 90s would remember, Ass Ponies. He was the lead singer of that band. Their big hit was, I think, The Little Bastard was probably the biggest one. Had a couple albums that were really good, I guess I just forgot about them and didn't. Some of these artists, you're into when you're younger, you kind of forget, like, whatever happened to them. But it was super cool to find that he's been in this new band all this time and this is their fifth record. This was in 2014. They've put out 2 records since then, and they're working on a supposedly 1 or 2 records right now. They've had some tragedy strike in their band. A member passed away, but I expect we're gonna hear new music from them hopefully in 2023. But I was so into this band and so into what they're doing. I got all their records, and I wanted to see them so bad. But I'm living in Las Vegas, and they're like touring in every city I used to live in. They come to Minneapolis when I'm not there. I moved to Minneapolis for a short period of time. They come to San Francisco. I moved to San Francisco. They're no longer touring. Of course, they never came through Vegas. And for a while there, I wanted to just get in a plane and just fly to Columbus and see them, fly wherever, because I wanted to see them so bad. Crossed my mind recently. They're doing Chuck and Lisa are doing a living room tour, house tour, very small, obviously, people's living rooms and stuff. And it crossed my mind to go to Ohio and try to check that out. But if you're looking for a real rock and roll, really solid record to check out, 2014's Attica by Wussy, by these 5 people. It's incredible. And if you like that, you'll like all the other ones too. And we've got quite a catalog. So, thank you. Enjoy.